Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Second Age Show, where we have yet another week of interesting scoops, rumors, and discussion from the Rings of Power. And of course, this week we have quite an interesting one. People have been quite excited and also a bit not worried, but like they're intrigued. And hopefully, we will be either alleviating some fears or potentially making things more interesting. And again, of course, with this, I think with this one, and of course with season one, we thought a lot about how it would work if you want to spoil too much, etc. So I feel like here we're treading the line perfectly. I think so. I think we should just be discussing all this, and it will be quite interesting. And talking about interesting and intriguing, we have, as you can see right in the middle, we have a special guest yet again. We have Erendel. Hello there, my friend.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
It's absolutely a pleasure to have you on, because I remember one time you wrote about how much of like a fan you were of, and he used to watch this all the time. So it's great to have you on as well. So I really much appreciate that. So, of course, someone who's returning, we go to left, who's in Mordor, just like Charlie Vickers. We have Penguin. Hello there.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Great to have you back as always. We also have, as always, as you always hear, we have Strider. Hello, friend.
Hello there. Always great to be here, and always great to have new faces or returning faces. So hello to Penguin and to Arundel. And to Cathy.
Yep. And I'm talking about Cathy, someone who I think's most excited about this episode. We have Cathy.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I'm super excited. And actually, you're right. Penguin kind of looks like blonde Charlie Vickers, like I'm saying, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's always the handsome one, like, is it Thor, is it Charlie Vickers? It's like, it doesn't matter.
I thought it was you can't decide if I'm a good guy or secretly the Dark Lord.
A Dark Lord, definitely.
Or both.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not both at the same time?
Why both? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that sets a theme for today's scoops. Because Penguin, do you want to get right into the first one?
I will. A new actor will play the original form Sauron character in the later episodes of the Rings of Power Season 2, not Charlie Vickers.
Mm-hmm.
And with that news, a million Halbrand Haladriel fans just cried out in terror and sadness.
And I think we will get into that. And just to quickly clarify, so in season 2 we have human form Sauron, and this is what it is referred to as. It's like in the production set and the catch-up, it is original form Sauron. So whoever's going to be playing this version of Sauron is the original form of Sauron. So that is quite interesting. So yes, I think Penguin, as you quickly mentioned, they're going to be people happy about this, people a bit worried about this. But Arendel, why not? Let's start off with you. What are your initial thoughts about this?
My initial thought was, obviously I first thought of Anatar for a moment, because I've been thinking about that a lot, like when is he going to show up? But original form Sauron says Myron to me, I think. I know that Charlie Vickers was really passionate about this whole topic. He was talking about in an interview how basically he asked for redemption from Eonwe, but then he was too proud. He didn't follow them to Aman. He's very knowledgeable of the story, and I think there's a reason to that. And then I think the showrunners also talked about Myron actually naming him in an interview as to how he got corrupted. So when I heard about original form Sauron, the first thing I thought was Myron. And then also about like later episodes bit makes me think that I think it's going to be a flashback, because also like Charlie Vickers said once something about like, oh, do you remember Galadriel's epilogue when she was a child? We're going to have the same with Sauron. So I'm expecting and Sauron origin story and Myron story, where we're going to see the opposite of the Galadriel story. So she started as an angry young girl, and she's now getting wise. But we're gonna see Myron, the admirable, but slowly turning evil.
The descent, yes. So yes, I think you've touched on it perfectly. I think what this basically is this original Sauron from Myron or is it Anatar? So I think you've given the case perfectly for Myron, but Cathy, what are your thoughts? What side are you on?
Okay, so first I have to say I'm shocked, because in fandom it was kind of adopted opinion that Charlie Vickers is the main form, the original form, and any possible shape shifting is just a deception. But in this scope, we found out that is not the case. There is an original form, and Charlie Vickers is just the deceptive one. So that changes the game a little bit, like especially going forward, because it poses the question, are they going to continue with Vickers form, aka Halbrand, or with this original form, or it's going to be both of actors, so it's very interesting to, think what's going to happen in the future. Now, in my opinion, original form means like Sauron from Morgoth era, like the first form that he ever took. So I don't remember in the lore if that was the one that he used as Anatar or not, but I think that it's very important to notice that our scope says the original form, and that's how the scope was given to us. They didn't say Anatar. So I would make a distinction because if, like if he was Anatar, he would probably be called that, like we would hear it like, yes, like Anatar, but we heard about original form. So I think that's an important distinction. So, like, yeah, it could be different from Anatar. That's all I'm saying.
And I think just to make it even more confusing though, and for Stride and Penguin, I'll take this to you next, but the next scoop is that this character, which is the original Sauron form, has been described as angelic and beautiful in his design with a black and gold costume color palette and has long black hair. So this makes it a bit confusing now because angelic, beautiful, all this, long black hair. I'll start off with Stride, then we'll go to Penguin. Doesn't that read a bit more like Anatar, or what do you think? Or are you still not swayed?
Well, I am racking my memory to think, okay, when we saw Sauron in the prologue of Rings of Power, we just saw a tall armored figure with a spear. Did we actually get much of a color palette? So, I mean, there's a possibility that this original form Sauron could be that Sauron. Granted,
that's what I'm
the long hair, the long hair is just with the helmet removed.
Yeah, the one under the armor, I think that's the original form, yes.
Yes, I mean, that's a direction they could go with this. But, it, again, could just be an angelic nod to the Anatar storyline, which they may or may not be able to make direct usage of.
I would say that for me, honestly, why not both? This could be the Myron form. That was his original name back when the world was getting created and all that, and even before that, before the dawn of time and all that. So maybe that's. I mean, actually, at that point, he was only a spirit, but his first bodily shape could be whenever he created that first bodily shape. It could be the same one that he will use and just call himself Anatar. And also, actually, I don't think. It's not that I don't think, but it's one of my theories that perhaps he will not be called Anatar by himself. I was thinking that maybe Celebrimbor can be the one who names him like that. Though it would make more sense that he introduces himself like that, but that's just one of my theories. Anyway, I think that this angelic, beautiful form definitely sounds like Anatar. That's how Anatar form is described. That's what we expect from an Anatar form of Sauron. Whether they will be able to call him like that or not, I don't know. But we don't know. But we will. We have to get that story at some point in some way, which obviously the second season is the time for that. And as Aaron said already, Charlie Wickers did talk about that. So for me, it makes perfect sense that this might be his original form, and then he will just use this and just be called Anatar in this original form, and yeah, that's how he will be known.
The meme answer.
I think we also know that Adar kind of killed someone who already had a form, right? And then when he encountered Halbrand, did not recognize him. So before Halbrand, there was another guy that Adar killed, which could be this form of Sauron.
By the way, one thing I want to point out, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that, and it's very interesting, the color of, and at least they're depicted like that in fan art, but I think that's also kind of official. Black and gold was the color of Kingsmen in Numenor. So I think that their their color palette was black and gold, and to see him described here like that, that's very interesting. Could that be something that inspired? Like, could it be that they, once he gets captured, which I assume will happen, and brought to Numenor, maybe that the color of his, armor and whatever, may be the inspiration for the Numenorian color palette.
Isn't it also very Aule, like black rock and golden mines?
Yeah.
I think that's what I thought immediately. Like, could be, if it's Myron indeed.
And one thing I know about this is that I was told that I think that Charlie Vickers, even though we don't have a full description of his costume, apparently there is still that gold and black tint in some of his design in season 2 as well. So we haven't reached that as a scoop, but I do know that as well. So that's an interesting link between the two. But Penguin, do you have any other links, maybe?
Well, the meme answer is that the gold and black outfit is really the choir robes he wore at the music of the Aener. And, during the breaking of the pre-concert silence.
Oh, my God. And I love your pronunciation there as well. That was one thing.
I have made up a pronunciation guide for myself in my head all these years, and I'm sorry, I'm not changing it now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that and Celebrimbo, 2-1, Celeborn. Yeah, all the common ones. But Cathy, I know you want to have something to say around this angelic, beautiful costume stuff, long hair. What does this mean to you?
All right, so first, I think that fans are gonna love it that the show is doubling down on long hair. Like we've seen it in our spy photos of elves in the woods, and then we've seen it on drone photos, like those dead elf dummies in the woods. And now we hear that original Sauron is going to have long hair, so long hair is coming back with a vengeance. I think fans will love to hear that. As far as the character goes, we don't know how much of the screen time he's going to have, but considering that he's appearing later, probably less than, let's say, Charlie Vickers. And also the fact that both actors are going to have like similar clothes. Maybe the reason is when they change from one into the other, we still need to know how this whole thing is going to work, right? Or maybe just for the audience to understand that it's the same character. Now, when they said angelic, I'm wondering if I mean, like, I understand that, like, probably makeup makes him, like, angelic in appearance and sort and stuff like that. But I'm wondering if maybe in post production he's going to have like some special glow, like maybe sparkle in the sunlight, like Edward Cullen, that sort of thing, like so. Because it kind of just to show that he isn't human or elf, but like different being.
Wasn't there with
Yeah.
Galadriel during the Lord of the Rings movies? Didn't they like put when she was on screen and stuff like that in her eyes? They had like lights or stuff that reflected
Yes,
off
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
stuff like that. Even that's happening on set, but maybe as you're saying, techniques like that. But so yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
agreed. Like I love that. Like that distinguished elves from humans. So because elves don't glow on this show, maybe Amaya will. Like so. Yeah. So we'll see. Like it's interesting. Like, and we're getting another hot actor. So like I'm not complaining.
I wanted to point out something that I think can be a bit controversial, especially if you really love fan art. So if this is Myron indeed, I don't know if it's Anatar or Myron. To me, I'm quite positive that it's going to be his form before Adar killed him. I'm actually very happy about this change of direction from that like red-headed Lucifer type of fallen angel. Like, no, we're going into a direction where he has actually dark hair, a dark garment with gold on it. It's not something I would be expecting. So it feels actually like a nice change to me. And if there is an Anatar, like a separate third Sauron, then probably that design is also going to be very different. So I'm kind of happy about this, like different styles of Sauron. And if this is Myron, it suits perfectly in my mind that he will be wearing the like a dark rock color with gold in it. That will make me feel more like, I don't know, it's more authentic to being a student of Aule.
So
I
just
just want to add one thing, like to what.
No, you may not, Cathy. It's my turn.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just joking. Go for it.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's fine. You speak.
No, just quickly, I wanted to say that when you mentioned, like fan art of Myron, like as a ginger kid or something like that, like when I heard about the description for original form, like with dark hair, I was like, wow, that looks like Morgoth in like fan art, like, so it's more Morgoth type. Go ahead, Penguin. I'm so sorry.
I was just going to chime in that if my kind of idea that we've already seen this original Sauron in the form of the prologue, and that armor is black and gold, I think I kind of enjoy and appreciate that, because it's a bit of a break from the fantasy tendency to just make all the evil guys be their stuff just be black, ugly, and spiky. Where if it was black and gold, and so kind of evil looking yet elegant at the same time, I'd welcome that. It would be a new look for Middle Earth, because it's never explicit that it's in the books, to the best of my memory, that it's just all ugly and horrendous and spiky. That's just how it's been generally interpreted for years upon years upon years.
It just gives off that evil vibe if it's like spiky and like that. Yeah. I think that the one we saw in the prologue was a bit higher than you would expect, like quite higher than standard humanoid size. So I think that we're not going to. I mean, it might be the same person. Maybe the body that we saw in prologue is just his battle ready body, because I think it's kind of like significantly taller, so to see an actor like without armor, like to see if someone's face and their whole body like that, I don't think we're going to see that. So it's interesting to think, what is it beneath that armor with everything we've heard tonight. Yeah.
I found what Penguin said interesting because I remember from Lord of the Rings production at Weta Workshop, they were talking about how this armor, the famous armor that Sauron wears, actually they imagined it to be like silver color, light color at the very beginning when he made it. But over the time, as he, got more evil and evil, it started burning the armor from inside and turned it black over time. So by the time we see him in the Last Alliance at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, it's not the original one that he has made for himself. So I agree that it's something that he wears to go to battle, and maybe inside there is this guy with the dark hair. But I would be really curious to see the original bright form of that armor, and I think it would look pretty cool.
That's a very cool. I didn't know that. That's a very cool piece.
The Lord of the Rings production did do that a bit. The Mouth of Sauron, for instance, when they were designing him, they gave him all sorts of blisters and cracked lips because the evil that he would say was just disfiguring and corrupting his flesh. They did that and did a lot of that. And of course, making something spiky as shorthand for evil works pretty quickly on screen, so you don't have to think about who's fighting in any given scene.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the hopefully interesting things around this costume. I mean, we actually do have a scoop later on which is related to maybe the person who's been behind a lot of these costumes. But next, though, Strider, do you want to tell us something about, maybe what some people have been waiting for, something around Charlie Vickers?
Yeah, so something very interesting. So Charlie Vickers, aka Halbrand, has spent most of his time on the Mordor sets and is clean shaven, but his character design and makeup has a fiery and ashy look to it.
And yeah, just want to clarify, most of his filming was spent there. We're not saying all of it has, there probably will be scenarios where it's maybe not always a model, but I'm just saying the majority of the filming was spent on the model set. So Cathy, I know, do you want to take this one away?
Yeah, I just want to say that that part about clean shaven, 2 thumbs way down, on this podcast, I'm surrounded with facial hair and, yay for facial hair, bring back the stubble, bring back Beard of Sorrow, that's why we loved Halbrand, because he was rugged, he was manly, he wasn't like elf, and this
Viggo
is
Mortensen.
Yeah, this is disappointing to me, but I like that part about ash and fire because I'm hoping that we see more forging. That short scene in Numenor when he was an apprentice and he was forging the sword, that was sexy. That was amazing, and I really hope that we see more of that. And I mean, I don't have more to say, this is it, so you guys take over.
Cathy, go take a cold shower again, or jump in a cold lake.
I'll jump in the cold lake, thank you.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
I kind of find it interesting that he's losing his stubble, because at the same time it makes a lot of sense, because technically Halbrand was a disguise where he was supposed to look like a Southlander. That was where he was hiding. So he kind of wanted to look that way. And now that disguise doesn't necessarily need to be there, he's kind of turning into something more evil with I don't know, doesn't look as much as if it's from the Southlands. What I really find interesting here is something that I'm not going to dwell too much on, but why is he always in Mordor? I mean, obviously we saw that he was going back to Mordor, and he said, Charlie Vickers said that he has a plan and we're going to learn it very quickly. And if he's spending most of his time there, it's really interesting, because then where is Anatar? And then obviously his plan back in Mordor has to do something with Adar, which we also heard that is going to be in the battle scenes with Gil-galad and the others. It just, I don't know, it caught really my attention. Like, is he gonna make an agreement with Adar and send him to Eriador?
Well, we do know every one of our recent scoops from a few weeks ago, actually a few months ago now, is that we do know Charlie Vickers and Sam Hazeldine have shared scenes together. So that maybe that's an interesting thing to put into the mix.
I started to think that they may have a deal, because Charlie Vickers is not present at this battle scenes as far as we know. Maybe he is there as well. But why is Adar with everybody else, but Sauron is not there? Are they gonna make an agreement, or have they already made an agreement when he disappeared in episode 7 and then suddenly showed up injured?
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
Go ahead. No, that was it. I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. The last we see of Adar is, well, before the Mordor reveal, is that he is basically escapes the shackles, and the implication is kind of that maybe somebody helped him, and it obviously makes perfect sense that it was Sauron. So maybe we see a tiny flashback scene towards them making some sort of an agreement. But yeah, I think that Halbrand, or like Charlie Vickers' form of Sauron, will be in Mordor because he needs to consolidate his power there. He needs to build his forces because, I mean, at the moment, there's like, what, 200 orcs, maybe? I mean, first season had, I guess, because of COVID and other things, mainly because of COVID, the problem with the amount of people on screen, even though I guess they could have fixed that with technology, but okay, that's another issue. Anyway, so he needs to spend time in Mordor to build his army, to build. We need to see Barad-dûr built, probably in this season. I guess the latest in the next one, but we need to at least see it started being built. So yeah, that's why he will be there. And then at some point, I expect to see that when like a point where Charlie Vickers' Sauron puts all these things in motion, and then he's like, okay, now it's time for the next stage of my plan, and then he kind of fades away. And the next we see is this mysterious, gorgeous-looking person showing up at Celebrimbor's doors. So I guess that's how they can. That's, I guess, what they're going for.
Or a little time gain. We see both happening at the same time, and in the very end, we learn that they've been the same person. It's a bit cheesy, but I feel like that could be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will have to see some time jumps. Not just between seasons, I think even during seasons, because you cannot build Barad-dûr overnight. Yeah. So I think some of those things could definitely happen like that, yeah.
Yep. Any final thoughts on this, or do you want to move on to the next, Penguin? Anything from you?
I just want to say something, like in regards to what Randall said. I just want to clarify something. Adar is at the battle scene. We have that information, but it doesn't mean that Sauron isn't. It's just that we don't have that information at the moment. So, like we can't say Sauron isn't, and like Adar is. Like we have the information that Adar is. So it just like to kind of clarify it. Like it isn't final. Scooping is like work in progress. Like you keep getting new information. Just because the source didn't see something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Saying that I don't think Charlie Vickers has been on those battle sets, or those specific ones. I think that's all we know right now. But yes, Cathy is correct, but also at the same time, I think, Arendelle, your assertion of Charlie Vickers not being on those ones at Shottsburg Park are correct, because he was elsewhere at that period.
I kind of feel like, based on the appendices where it says Sauron sent his forces to Eregion, but not necessarily immediately went there. I'm just speculating that it's either that somehow Adar is sent there to do this job, or what is more interesting will be that Adar will end up fighting on the other side. But these are all crazy thoughts that I have, but I absolutely agree that we don't really know if Sauron is there or not.
When in doubt, go with the dramatic solution. So that'd be Sauron and Adar both being present there, and shenanigans and betrayals ensuing.
Yeah, maybe Adar betrays Sauron. Maybe that could be a possible thing. Maybe if they have an agreement and that happens, who knows? But I think we have discussed quite a lot about that now. So let's move on to the final thing, which is more of a smaller tidbit, but it is interesting nonetheless because of some people have left the crew from season 1 to season 2, but someone has stayed. So Arendelle, do you want to read that one when you're ready?
Absolutely. So the costume designer Luca Mosca, who joined midway through season 1, is the main costume designer for the Rings of Power season 2.
Indeed. So basically, Kate Hawley left around, I'm not sure, was fired, left, I'm not sure which one, halfway through, and then he picked up from her when in New Zealand. If you go back to the Rings of Power credits, Kate Hawley's there, but if you look, Luke Mosca is also there as well. I mean, now, no, he has stepped up his role a bit now, and he's the main costume designer. And I thought that would make sense to do it with today's video, because we've talked a fair bit about costumes and designs, etc. So yeah, I think that's interesting. Does anybody have any initial thoughts about this?
I do.
Go for it.
So what is interesting about this person is that the only place that he is mentioned in interviews about season 1 is Charlie Vickers says that he designed, Luca designed the cloak that he wears in the final scene. And Charlie loved it because he felt like a superhero, as it was like a flag, and he felt really great in it. Obviously, the cloak, we don't really get, to see much details of it. We know that it looks cool from behind. And I've just looked up some of his work, and he's done some work for John Wick, which is a quite different style in costume design. But what's interesting for me was that
he even started John Wick too. Or not starred, but had a role in it.
Really?
There's a scene where John Wick goes to buy a suit with armor piercing.
That's him.
Oh man, he just buys it from him.
And the suit maker is the tailor is actually Luca Mosca.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So another thing he's done actually is the Last Witch Hunter, which is another fantasy film.
Vin Diesel, is it?
Yeah, it's not. I'm not a big fan, but I'm gonna finish with one last note that so he's done some work for the Carnival of Venice. I'm not sure if it's just photography done for the festival or if it's some kind of an art piece. I don't know, but they look gorgeous in a very scary way. I've seen fan art about Sauron where he wears that kind of mask. That kind of looks like the Venice Festival creepy masks. But I think he has added his own elements onto it. I think I'm going to share those on Twitter at some point that look really creepy and beautiful in a way. And I would love to see that kind of avatar if he can.
Yeah, please send them over. We can maybe put it on screen or you speaking as well. That would be.
Yeah, let me do that. Do I send it to the chat?
Oh yeah, we'll do that afterwards. Yeah, all good.
All right, cool.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. I think the main thing here is that he's gone from additional costume designer to the main one now. So he's gonna have more of an influence, let's say. And do you think this is quite interesting speculation? We know they've basically overhauled the short hair stuff. I know Elrond still has his little hairdo, but it's a bit longer. But except from that, all the elves in season 2 have much longer hair. Maybe he had influence on that. Or maybe that's just came from higher up. Who knows? But that's an interesting topic to discuss at some point. So, yeah, I think. Anybody have any final thoughts? Perfect. All good. Well, thank you for joining us on today's episode. First of all, thank you, Penguin.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Strider.
Always a pleasure.
A very thank you to Arendelle as well.
My pleasure.
And of course, Cathy as well. Thank you.
My pleasure too.
And thank you, of course, everyone to watching. And we won't be seeing you next week, but we will be doing a live stream next Sunday. So hopefully we'll join you then. Maybe some of these faces will be back for that as well. So, yep. Thank you for watching. And I think until the next one, my friends, goodbye.